Welcome, everyone, to the 5th annual blessing of the Ananda pets. It's always on this Sunday or close to it because that is the feast day, the 4th anyway, is the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi. And he was, of course, a great lover of animals. Lila will perhaps tell us more about this lovely tradition. And I would like now to introduce her. She's the founder of Spirit in Nature Essences with its Indian branch of Yogananda Flower Essences. And it was established in 1977. It's the oldest flower essence line outside the UK where flower essences first began. Lila has authored 4 books in several languages. They are Flower Essences for Animals, and then the Essential Flower Essence Handbook, that's for people. And then Bradley Banana, I love this title, and the Jolly Good Pirate, which is the first in a line of 20 children's books. And each one is based on one of the 20 flower essences. That line features animals to foster children's inner connection with the animal kingdom. And then the 4th book is a spiritual memoir from bagels to curry. Now, her connection with flower essences is very interesting. It began the very day she joined Ananda and came to Ananda Village, which was 5 months after the big fire, you remember, in 1976. And on that day, she was pretty tired from traveling. She was given a flower essence to relieve the fatigue she was feeling from her travel, and she had a remarkable response. This experience, and then a later talk with Swamiji, planted the seeds to develop the flower essences. Her lifelong love of animals inspired adapting the flower essences for their needs and their well-being. Now, Lila has lived in several Ananda communities, including Ananda Assisi, and she's visited Gurgaon several times, 3 times. By the way, forgive my critters who have decided to make their appearance a little early. And she was here in India 3 times at Swamiji's invitation to build the flower essences here in India. She has a Bachelor of Arts degree in both English and psychology and a secondary school teaching certificate. Considered one of the foremost flower essence developers in the world today, she has lectured and taught internationally and now online. Now, if you would like to order flower essences in India or for information on using them for both pets and people, you can look in the chat box where we have placed, at least I think we have, details. And if they aren't there, they will be soon. Now, let me just make one more general announcement, which is that before we begin the satsang and pet blessing, I would like to say that right afterwards, for any of you who would like to have a pet blessed, that is a pet who departed, Lila has a pet blessing that is an Astral Ascension, very similar to what we use for people. And you can stay and we will bless a number of animals then who have left us. And again, if you would like to follow up on the flower essences, just look in the chat box. So Lila, a very good welcome. She's a dear friend of mine. It's a joy to have her.
Thank you, Prisha ji, and thank all of you for coming on behalf of your beloved animals, your family, your dearest friends, your spark of divinity right in your own home. I am just as pleased as can be to be with you on my two favorite subjects. One is the flower essences, but this is not a class. This is a very special program. And of course, the animals. And as Prisha mentioned, I've been to India those 3 times in 2004 and 5, and also in 1987 on a pilgrimage, and feel a tremendous richness in the Indian culture. And it's no wonder Master said that that's where a greatness will blend with America, and it's already happening. We're already seeing that. So you'll see in the background this beautiful world famous painting. Of course, this is not the original, by Giotto, of Saint Francis preaching to the birds. And we honor him today for his Mahasamadhi and being the patron saint of ecology as well as animals, and Master's patron saint, Paramahansa Yoganandaji's patron saint. When Master went to Assisi, he would roam the hillsides where St. Francis had walked around Laverna, and they walked together in deep communion, in love of all living beings. So our program today, yes, it is a Sunday service, but we're combining it with, as Prisha mentioned, a pet blessing that will expand beyond the boundaries of geography and, in fact, of this world and the next. And will touch these souls also who have gone on before us, who have been in our care for a brief time. And how perfect is this topic of surrender on this very celebratory weekend, even for the animals, for a very unusual reason. And first, I want to say, in my time with Swamiji, that was, since coming here in 1976 until his passing, and now, with him in spirit, he did not use very often the word surrender. He did not care for it. I wouldn't say he didn't like it, because Swami didn't have those likes and dislikes, but there is often a certain weakness or a passivity attached to it. And I think that was more what he shunned. However, it's different in this reading, because we see that we're talking about great willpower, and willpower happens to be a faculty of, I'll point here, because it is the prefrontal lobes. Interestingly enough, the animals do not have prefrontal lobes in their brain. They are guided by their limbic system, the fight or flight, the urge, the drive to be preserved and to propagate and to live in an instinctual way, whereas human beings with our prefrontal lobes live differently. Yes, we do have the limbic system, and it's very good and very helpful to have to keep us alive and safe and aware of danger and whatnot, to keep our wits about us. But very interestingly, it is the humans in the animal kingdom, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. It's the humans in this kingdom with the animals that have the ability to reach the highest states of God realization. Now, there are always exceptions to that. You may have heard or even seen on YouTube Ramakrishna's cow. I encourage you to watch that video and to look in the eyes of that sacred cow. You will never be the same. But anyway, the animals, they do, as Swamiji clarified, they have a thread of willpower, a thread of a little bit of independence. I like this, I don't like that. Now, let's not confuse that with personality, because as we know, as pet lovers, they can have gigantic personalities, amazing variety of likes and dislikes, of things they're drawn to, things they would shun, certain foods, maybe even certain dishes for the food, certain times of day, liking for certain people and not for others, maybe if there's a lot of noise or bustle about. But it's an interesting concept that it's that pivotal incarnational evolution from the last animal incarnation to a human, also in a sense, an animal incarnation, but with the prefrontal lobes. Now, Master did say the animals have chakras. They have a chakra system, but it is dimmer. That was the word he used, and it's a fairly good word. So there is awareness, again, tying into our affirmation today. There's a lot of awareness in the animal kingdom, and we see that, especially when we live with them and see their heightened senses, their heightened ability to feel, not only bordering telepathy, but you could even say they have that sixth sense. They can tune into things. There is a gentleman in the San Francisco area who said he could always tell when an earthquake was coming, because he would notice on a lot of the telephone poles posters of a lost cat or a lost dog, because they would feel the geopathic stress and they would head for the hills. They would leave home. And those are things that most humans are not aware of, that the animals, in their great sensitivity and their ability to know nature as their native language, that they can understand these things. So we have much to learn from them as they do from us. And this is the greatest blessing in having them, how our lives become enriched. Now, I know in past ceremonies on this special day honoring St. Francis, you've heard the story of the Wolf of Rubio. I'd like to just briefly restate it with that thought in mind, of the difference of being guided by willpower as humans are, as opposed to instinctively as the animals are. Because if we look at this Wolf of Rubio, whom Francis not only befriended but named Brother Wolf, then we can get a tremendous perspective on the animal kingdom. What was he doing? At first, the wolf was taking the lives of livestock so that he could live. He was eating. That's how nature works. It seems cruel to us, and it's just a part of life that happens. But then his appetite sort of did an about face, and he was going after humans until that was basically all was. Very destructive. And when he was reprimanded by St. Francis said, you know, if you were human and you had taken this many human lives, your punishment would be very, very severe. So here's St. Francis speaking to the wolf as though to an equal in his great humility, and as someone who completely understood him, which miracle of miracles, as the watching town people saw, was exactly what happened. The wolf did understand. The wolf repented, and St. Francis created a pact with the wolf. The wolf actually gave his paw to St. Francis as a gesture of understanding and acceptance. Yes, he will not behave that way any longer. All the townspeople saw. They had been living in such fear that they knew if anyone wandered outside the boundaries of Rubio, where St. Francis himself was living at that time, it was about 1221, their lives would be forfeit. And here was St. Francis speaking to him as if to a little puppy dog, going right from one soul to another, bypassing that driven limbic system. Oh, I have to eat, I must eat. And so there's an element of killing there. And the wolf was transformed. The entire town was transformed. The wolf lived another 2 years after all his misdeeds, and was told by St. Francis, go to this house, go to that house, you will be fed. You don't need to live as you lived before. And guess what? All of the townspeople saw the wolf as someone beloved of them, even though his behavior had previously been very foul, very reprehensible, even though it was for survival. It was that limbic system in operation. And yet the power of divine love overrode everything and changed this wolf so that when he passed away, he was, honored and he was grieved for. So what a beautiful story of basically divine love. I'd like to share with you too a quote from Gandhiji. It's probably one that you've heard before. I never tire of it. The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. In other words, he was saying, this is the mark, this is the barometer of a civilized society, how it treats its not inferiors, we don't want to say that about the animals, but its dependence in a sense, its dependence as in beings, of the animals being dependent on humans for their care. And so all of us today and all of our animals who are telepathically receiving this service right now through our openness, our receptivity, and they may even be sitting there with you right now. All of us are elevating the vibration, the level of consciousness, the awareness is the word from the affirmation of India, and in fact, of the entire planet. And thank you for this tremendous offering. I know we're very close to when we'll start our blessing, and what I'd like to do is something a little bit different, to sing for you Swamiji's song dedicated to St. Francis, I Wander with Thee. And as I sing this song, I would like to ask you if you wish to hold up your pet or pets to the screen, or if you have a photo or photos, and if there are any pets not with you, either not in the room, in another geographic location, in another plane, perhaps the astral plane, please, I was asked to have a raised hand and the reaction feature. I assume this makes sense, so that you can do the needful, as the Indians like to say, and make sure that no one is left out for a blessing. I'll share with you in a little bit, in a very little bit, a reading from my book, Flower Essences for Animals. And also, if you saw the flyer and saw that precious photo that's on the back of the English book, That is on the cover of the Japanese version, and it just brings a chuckle every time I look at it, as though everyone just sits in their living room surrounded by a hamster, a jackrabbit, a duck, a beagle, while holding a cat, etc. But the enrichment that our pets bring to our lives is immeasurable. May we honor them 1,000-fold in return. And in fact, if you know this song and feel to join in, please feel free to do so. And the beauty of these lyrics is that in the first verse, Swamiji has Francis who's singing in the first person. And in fact, Francis left this world in song. First, he honors the flowers and fields, alive with thy joy. In the second and last verse, birds and animals share in my song. So this is a song of rejoicing, of all the kingdoms, of all the things. Thank you for these beautiful pictures.
With thy joy, all that I own to thee I give, and now I sing in thy love I love thee. Father, now that I dance in thy name, birds and animals share in my song. All my sorrow, all my merriment, join in music to set hearts aflame. Father, now that I wander with thee, flowers and fields are alive with thy joy. All that I own to thee I've given, now I sing in thy love I am free. Father, now that I dance in thy name, birds and animals share in my song. All my sorrows, all my merriment, join in music to set hearts aflame. All my sorrows, all my merriment, join in music to set hearts aflame.
Thank you. Did we get to see everyone? What precious faces. And I trust that it's okay, possibly because of the numbers, that will be honoring and blessing all your loved ones at one time. And then, as Prishaji shared, afterwards, we will have a very sweet astral ascension ceremony. And even if you don't have pets who've passed recently and would like to experience it, please join. You're more than welcome to join. Okay. One thing I explain even in the introduction of my book is to encourage people to refer to animals as he and she instead of it. It is for inanimate objects. You don't say that table, oh, she's my friend. You say that table, what a good table. And so likewise, we wouldn't say it in referring to our dog. And yesterday, we had a very sweet family-oriented pizza night at our market, sort of the Village Green area. And there was a young 12-year-old boy who brought his pet exotic lizard. And the lizard was sort of draped on the front of his t-shirt, not moving. And, you know, it looked like a toy because those scales looked a little bit plastic. But I not only got to meet Tina from Argentina, I got to pet her, and she did feel like a plastic toy, but she was moving, and in her excitement, her little tongue was darting out, with that split tongue. And it was quite an experience. It's so amazing what God has done in his immense creativity with the animal kingdom. I'd like to read to you a section very appropriate, a context for understanding the animals. The East Indian rishis, sages throughout time, or living textbooks of ancient truths, have explained the evolution of consciousness through the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms as follows. God sleeps in the minerals, dreams and cries in the plants, begins to stir in the animals, and is capable of fully awakening in humanity. This portrait of the evolution of consciousness is further explained in terms of the 5 sheaths or veils, koshas in Sanskrit, that dull the faculty of awareness, our affirmation, in all living things, through a gradual process as each sheath falls away. A higher level of awareness emerges. So we're coming close to the blessing part of our ceremony. I wanted to just honor our guru's guru, Lahiri Mahashaya, who was actually working on a means to hasten the evolution of animals. But unfortunately, he passed away before completing that noble dharma. But perhaps we, in some small way, can honor something else that he did and that he said, which is that every time we express a kindness to an animal, we hasten his or her, not its, spiritual evolution. The animals who have the karmic evolution to live with human beings, they are watching us. They're mimicking us. You've heard the expression copycat, right? So I'm sharing these thoughts just so we can have our own deepening awareness of our connection with our loved ones. And just to tell a little joke, even though we're a little bit past sharing about St. Francis, he lived to about 45 years old, which was a very long life back in those days. And you may know, or you may have heard in his younger days when he partied, which is what, the young townspeople did, adolescents or whatever they were called back then. St. Francis himself was quite the party animal. So if you will kindly forgive me, it seemed a pun worth sharing with you. So how are we doing on time? I want to really honor our time. Okay. Krisha, do you think I have time to share one of Swamiji's favorite flower essence stories about the animals?
I think perhaps, although right now we have to be careful. We have 7 minutes.
Okay, we have 7 minutes. Let's see if I can talk faster. But because part of our blessing will be with the flower essence, and it happens to be prayer for peacefulness, this is a story that Swamiji, I would hear through other people, that he would tell to many people, not just once, but at least several times is what I heard. And he loved the story, and he loved the testimonials for the pets because of the same principle of the animals not having the prefrontal lobes, meaning they were incapable of the placebo effect. They could not imagine results that were not there. And so this is a story of roundup, of a herd of cattle. Roundup time, 3 things happen to the baby calves. Forgive me, it's not all that pleasant. It is the castration, it's the branding, and it's the dehorning that happens all at one time for them. The ranch hands would see repeatedly, there is tremendous pandemonium because the little babies, the calves, these sacred baby calves, are taken from their mothers for the first time in their lives. And it's sort of even a hysteria. There was a woman at the ranch who just happened to have a bottle of pear essence. She poured it in the watering trough. It took 1 hour for all of the calves to drink from that watering trough. Complete silence. All the ranch hands witnessed it. So it can't be just a figment of someone's imagination. But we're going to use this spray now as a means of spreading to the animals in your home, perhaps in your lap, all over the world, this vibration of peacefulness. Pear is for peacefulness. This is for the termination, the obliteration of resistance of any kind, of conflict, of war, which we're seeing a lot of that right now. We could even consider the pandemic a type of war on the human body that we're struggling with. And, fighting this enemy as best we can. So as we move into our blessing for all our animals, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. So whether they're with you or not, in your lap, in the astral world, in the home of one of your family members, wherever, that you can see them with closed eyes. Please look into the eyes of your pet. If there are multiple pets, you can take turns, go from one to the other. The eyes being the window of the soul, look deeply into the soul of your beloved friend in the body of an animal, whatever species, whatever breed, and transmit this blessing. I will spray myself with the pear essence on behalf of sending it out into all the world to your loved ones. And feel free to expand your sympathies to the pets of your friends, to pets maybe you've read about or seen on YouTube. It doesn't matter. And even to happy and healthy pets, that they be able to move more quickly in their spiritual evolution. Here's the spray. And Swamiji talked about this like a weightless waterfall of peace. Look deeply into those bright eyes. See the consciousness. See the deep emotional nature, the ability to live only in the present moment because of no prefrontal lobes, not in the past, not in the future, only fully in this moment. And in that sense, to even deal with pain better than humans, to deal with the immediacy with what's happening right now. The ability to not judge, to give unconditional love, to be there for you, whether you're a good cook or not, whether you got good grades in school, whether you have a happy marriage or not, you are unconditionally loved by your pets. Now we'll rub our hands together. We know the drill here. We're going to send Om, that soundless sound, that first sound of the universe, into the souls of our beloved animal companions. Feel the heat in your palms. Raise your palms out to the world, out to the universe. Let's chant Om to their essence, 3 times. Om. 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 Om Shanti. Shanti, Shanti. Om. Bless you all. Bless your loved ones. Vishuddhi.
Thank you so much, Lila. So many beautiful insights, so much to meditate on. Now, for those of you who would like to stay after our satsang and take part in the Pet Astral Ascension ceremony, please just stay. Everybody else, feel free to leave.
Thank you. So this is the Astral Ascension ceremony for pets and animals with contributions by Paramahansa Yogananda and Nayaswami Kriyananda, are compiled by myself with permission from Swamiji. And in fact, I asked him, I asked him, is this okay to do? And to take your words and Master's words. And he chuckled. That is a sound of so much joy. And he said, sure, I don't have a problem with that. So we'll have an opening prayer. And please rise, even if you have loved ones on your lap, if it's possible to rise. Please repeat after me. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, beloved Guruji, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we bow to you again and again. Divine Mother, we invoke your blessings on the soul and souls of our beloved who have graced our lives for a time and now moved on to higher realms. Bless them through this ceremony, that they go with freedom, joy, and peace, and above all, the divine love that we have shared. We are thine. Be thou eternally ours. Om. Peace. Shanti. 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 Please be seated. We'll have a chant. And as we sing this chant, listen. Feel that your beloved, who has perhaps passed on, is right there with you and silently singing. Listen to my heart soul. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. We'll have a brief meditation. Hold your beloved pet in your heart as you meditate. These words are to him or to her or them. I will never forget thee. I will never forsake thee. Divine love is beyond all limitation. Just as earlier we looked into the eyes of our dear pets, feel their presence without pulling on it. Enjoy their presence. Enjoy that you can say and affirm, you live in my heart. You live in my heart. Where else is there to live? Om Shanti Shanti. This is where the pet owner would be invited to speak, to share poems or stories, and feel free in your heart to do that if you wish. I would like to just share a few words about the Astral Ascension ceremony for humans and for pets and animals. Its purpose, you could say, is twofold. One, to give infinite love and support to the soul who has passed on, who has moved on without the body, and also to comfort us who grieve so deeply. I've had the blessing and opportunity of doing this ceremony for so many pets and so many pet owners. And because of this very special bond, as we were talking, with no criticism, no judgment, you could even perhaps say no meannesses of the heart, you know. But I sometimes like to make a joke that pride of pedigree has to do with the pedigree of the animal, that we can be, you know, sweetly and humorously so proud of our special dog, our special rabbit, whatever kind of critter graces your household. But for us too, who are left behind to be healed, we know in the richness of Indian scripture that our time apart is very brief, and that there is the possibility that these beloved ones are moving on to their first human incarnation. We never know, but we can see them growing. We can see them changing and responding to, as Lahiri said, our every kindness, our every kind treatment and thought of them. So now we come to the flower ceremony. The white rose symbolizes life in God and the purity of expression of the departed soul. And I will place this on the altar. The red rose symbolizes the bouquet of the love and goodwill of the entire congregation. And concentrate on each of these roses, the white being the purity of your animal's heart and behavior. That doesn't mean they're not sometimes very naughty, but we still see their purity. And we can in fact understand, excuse me, I'm digressing, this is not part of the ceremony, but their instinctive wisdom that may not express itself as wisdom to us when your rabbit starts chewing the antique legs of your grandmother's precious furniture, because the bunny is actually instinctively trying to maintain the health of his teeth. Okay, so naughtiness, naughty or good, we love them unconditionally. I'm going to ask you now to pray mentally. We have gathered together to celebrate the life and honor the passing of, these include name or names, beloved of, and mentally say your own name. While there are no words to heal this sense of loss, there is ever the deeper understanding of the divine plan from an all-loving Divine Mother. It was I, she whispers silently, who came to you in the form of your animal friend. It was my love you received from him or her, and my love you gave in return. Many are the lessons both learned and cherished from a bond so deep, lessons that will remain with us forever. And many are the precious memories of such a bond, forged in mutual, unconditional love. Now, insert pet's name, roams joyfully in a realm that we cannot sense, but is ever near to us. Although his or her physical body has passed away, the love shared by souls is eternal. We shall miss you, but our desire is not to hold you back, but only to tell you that our love and support are ever yours, and our prayers for your highest happiness. We shall meet again. Once more, we shall laugh together, rejoice together, and share in the joy of God's love. The great Master Yogananda promises, my dreams of thee are gathering together to make a rainbow bridge of self-realization by which I will soon reach unto thee. Likewise, through the sacred bond of pet and owner, and here again pet's name is added, is now continuing on his or her evolutionary journey homeward, freed from the shackles of a physical body and ready because of the love you shared in this life to progress to a higher life form. A beloved pet with the good karma to live with a spiritually minded person, and perhaps even Kriyaban, is almost surely about to graduate to his or her first human incarnation with the gift of free will, and thus the opportunity to make greater and quicker spiritual progress. Indeed, this is cause to celebrate. Again, as Yogananda says, God wants his children to love everything as a part of him, and not to feel delusively that death ends all. The man of unattachment, he who loves others as expressions of the Lord, understands that at death, The dear ones have only returned for a breathing space of joy in Him. Divine Mother, receive this, thy beloved. Purify him or her in thy perfect light and love. Grant him or her eternal freedom in thee. Om. Amen. We'll now chant Om 3 times, sending waves of light and joy to the departed. Om. 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 Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, beloved friend God, great masters, saints of all religions, we thank you for this opportunity to channel your love back to our beloved ones. Hold them eternally in your arms, and let our own hearts be comforted in celebration of a life or lives well lived. Om Shanti. Shanti. God bless you all.